Nicolette Larson was one of those rare voices that could melt hearts and lift spirits in equal measure. When I was a kid, I was into a huge, diverse range of music that ranged from old-style country like Waylon, Willie and Merle to bands like the Eagles, Kiss, and a lot of the typical hair bands of the time. When I wasn't banging my young head, I was usually kicked back in a corner somewhere reading a book listening to the soft rock sounds of songs like Blue Bayou by Linda Ronstadt or Emmylou Harris's I Don't Have to Crawl, or Christopher Cross's song Sailing, or just about anything by Hall & Oates or Michael McDonald. If you haven't had the privilege to hear any of the great songs or artists, I highly suggest you should go check them out immediately. One of my favorite songs back when I was a kid was a radio mainstay simply titled Lotta Love. It was a female artist, but I never knew her name or much about her till just recently when I was watching a story about her on another great channel called Professor of Rock, which is another awesome channel that I highly recommend. When I saw who sang the hit, it made me curious enough to do a deep dive into who she was and what else she had out there on record. Sadly, I found out she passed away not too long ago, so this is her story. I hope you'll enjoy it enough to give the video a huge thumbs up and maybe, just maybe enough for you to hopefully become a new channel subscriber. We'd sure love to have you in the Graveyard Dance family. Nicolette Larson was best known for her soaring 1978 hit Lotta Love. But she was more than just a one-hit wonder. She was a force of musical warmth, collaboration, and undeniable talent. From her early years to her final days, Larson's life was filled with passion, music, and an unshakable devotion to her craft. Though her time on this earth was far too brief, her legacy still lingers in the voices of those she inspired. Born on July 17, 1952, in Helena, Montana, Nicolette Larson grew up in a world filled with movement and change. Her father's career in the U.S. Treasury Department meant the family was often on the move, taking her from Montana to Kansas, Nebraska, and even Missouri. Despite the constant relocation, one thing remained constant: her love of music. From an early age, she was drawn to the sounds of folk, country, and rock, immersing herself in the records of legends like Bob Dylan, the Beatles, and Joni Mitchell. She often credited her older siblings with introducing her to a wide variety of musical influences. The Larson household was filled with records, and young Nicolette would spend hours poring over the lyrics and melodies of her favorite artists. She also loved to sing along to the radio, mimicking the vocal styles of her favorite performers. Even as a child, it was clear that she had a natural gift for music, and her dream of one day becoming a professional singer began to take shape. As a teenager, Larson moved to California, where she absorbed the counterculture and burgeoning music scene of the late 60s and early 70s. The air was thick with the sounds of Laurel Canyon folk rock, and Larson quickly found herself at the heart of a movement that was redefining popular music. She took on odd jobs to support herself while trying to break into the industry, including working as a waitress and in record stores, all while attending countless live shows and jam sessions. Her early days in California were not easy. She struggled to find her place in the competitive world of music, often dealing with self-doubt and rejection. However, her determination never wavered. After arriving in San Francisco, she worked at a record store and the Golden Gate Country Bluegrass Festival. She started singing in local clubs and small venues, slowly building a reputation for herself. Her singing career began as an opening act for Eric Anderson in Vancouver. In 1975, she joined Hoyt Axton and the Banana Band, touring with Joan Baez, and earned her first recording credit on Commander Cody's Tales from the Ozone. She toured and contributed vocals for his later albums, while also recording with artists like Guy Clark, Rodney Crowell, and Jesse Winchester during the late 1970s. Word began to spread about the young singer with the honeyed voice, and soon, she caught the attention of established musicians who saw great potential in her. Larson's career didn't take off overnight, though, but her undeniable talent eventually found its audience. She started working in the music industry in the early 1970s, providing backup vocals for established artists. Her voice, rich and effortlessly expressive, caught the attention of some of the biggest names in music. Her breakthrough came when she began working with Emmylou Harris, one of country rock's most revered figures. As part of Harris's hot band, she provided harmonies that added depth and texture to already stellar arrangements. But it was her work with Neil Young that truly catapulted her into the spotlight. Neil Young recognized Larson's immense potential and invited her to contribute vocals to his 1977 album Comes a Time. One day, while in a car together, she looked at the floorboard of his car and found a cassette tape, and out of curiosity, she put it in the car's stereo. It was a rough demo that Neil had made of a song he had written called Lotta Love, and he didn't care for it at all. Immediately, the song caught her attention, and she told Neil that she loved the song, and he offered it to her right away and said, "If you want it, it's all yours." Impressed by her interpretation of his song Lotta Love, Young encouraged her to record it herself. The result was a shimmering, radio-friendly rendition that transformed her into a star almost overnight. Released in 1978, Larson's version of Lotta Love soared up the charts, hitting number 8 on the Billboard Hot 100. It became a defining track of the era, its breezy optimism and lush production capturing the hopeful spirit of late 70s California pop. Her debut album, Nicolette, followed, cementing her status as a promising new voice in the industry. Unlike many artists of her era, Larson refused to be confined to one genre. Over the next decade, she navigated effortlessly between pop, country, and rock, collaborating with a dizzying array of artists, from Michael McDonald to Linda Ronstadt and even Van Halen. Eddie Van Halen's collaboration with Nicolette Larson on her debut album Nicolette in 1978 is a fascinating example of cross-genre artistry. He played an uncredited guitar solo on the track, Can't Get Away From You. At the time, Van Halen and his band were just gaining prominence, and he wanted to maintain focus on their identity as a group, which is why his name wasn't officially listed. The solo itself is a standout moment in the song, showcasing Van Halen's signature energy and technical skill. It's a unique blend of his rock style with Larson's country rock sound, creating a memorable and unexpected collaboration. In return, she contributed backing vocals to the Van Halen song Could This Be Magic? From their 1980 album Women and Children First. This track is notable for being the only Van Halen song to feature a female backing vocalist. Larson's involvement came about through her connection with Ted Templeman, who worked with both Van Halen as well as Nicolette on their album label, Warner Brothers, as she was part of the vibrant music scene in Los Angeles at the time. Her distinctive voice added a unique touch to the song, blending beautifully with Van Halen's acoustic-driven sound on this track. Her versatility was both a blessing and a curse. While it showcased her immense talent, it also made it difficult for record labels to pin her down. She dabbled in country music in the 80s, releasing albums that found moderate success on the country charts. Her 1983 album, All Dressed Up and No Place to Go, proved she could hold her own among the Nashville greats, though mainstream country success always remained just out of reach. While Larson never replicated the commercial success of Lotta Love, she remained an in-demand session singer throughout her career. She was widely respected by her peers, who admired her work ethic and warm, genuine personality. Linda Ronstadt once called her one of the purest voices of our generation, while Emmylou Harris credited her with adding an irreplaceable depth to her recordings. She was the kind of artist who might not have always been in the spotlight, but was deeply woven into the fabric of the music industry. Some of the highlights of her personal life include meeting guitarist and songwriter Hank DeVito through her collaboration with Emmylou Harris. The two later married but eventually divorced. While recording Comes a Time, Larson had a romantic involvement with Neil Young. In the early 1980s, she became engaged to Andrew Gold, but their relationship ended shortly after the release of her 1982 album, All Dressed Up and No Place to Go, which Gold had produced. In the late 1980s, Larson briefly dated Weird Al Yankovic, who later wrote You Don't Love Me Anymore, a parody of her style, for his 1992 album Off the Deep End. In 1990, Larson married drummer Russ Kunkel, and they remained together until her death in 1997. They had a daughter, Elsie Mae Larson Kunkel, born in 1990. Nicolette Larson passed away on December 16, 1997, at the age of 45, due to complications from cerebral edema caused by liver failure. Her health had been declining, and it was reported that her condition was linked to chronic use of medications like Valium and Tylenol PM. These factors, combined with symptoms of depression, contributed to her untimely death, leaving fans and fellow musicians reeling. Tributes poured in, with many noting not just her extraordinary voice, but also her kind and loving nature. Michael McDonald, a close friend and collaborator, remarked that she brought joy wherever she went. while Neil Young later performed a touching tribute to her in concert. Though her time in the limelight was relatively brief, Nicolette Larson's impact on music remains undeniable. Her voice can still be heard in the recordings of countless artists she supported, and Lotta Love remains a beloved classic, frequently played on oldies stations and included in film soundtracks. In 1998, a star-studded tribute concert was held in her honor, featuring performances by some of her closest friends and collaborators. The event not only celebrated her musical contributions, but also raised money for charities close to her heart. Today, she is remembered as an artist who infused every note with warmth and authenticity. Her voice, full of life and longing, continues to touch listeners, proving that true music never fades. It just finds new ears to inspire. Nicolette Larson may be gone, but her legacy is forever woven into the golden tapestry of American music. We hope you liked the video. Don't forget to check out her work. I know you'll love it as much as I do. We also have merch on our site for anyone who's interested in wearing a cool Graveyard Dance shirt, hoodie, or hat. You can find all that plus all our other work at graveyarddance.com. Till next time, thanks for watching.